That the motion be agreed to. I call the member for Wills.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Yesterday I did have the chance to speak very briefly about Michael Behan's extraordinary life in the House, and I appreciate the opportunity again here amongst some of my particularly Western Australian colleagues to speak about a wonderful man who made such a wonderful contribution. He was a dear friend to me. He was kind, he was generous, he was gentle. He was very generous with his time and his offering of advice to me as a new MP, particularly, and throughout the last couple of years. Kindness and generosity are not usually associated with politicians, Deputy Speaker, as you know, but Michael was nonetheless known for his kindness, and he was no less effective for his gentle nature and his kindness. He actually left a formidable legacy of service to the Australian community and to the Labor Party that he loved so much. He served as Western Australia State Secretary for the ALP, and during that period he put in a number of processes. In fact, I think he was instrumental, really, in ensuring electoral victory in Western Australia during those years. He then served as Labor Senator for WA from 1987 to 1996, and as President of the Senate from 1994 to 1996 during the Keating Labor government. And we can all see in the corridors here at Parliament House his portrait when we walk past. After Parliament, though, he remained deeply committed to the Labor Party and deeply committed to working for others and for his community. He was a very strong advocate for the role of neighbourhood houses in local communities, for health services and many other local social justice projects. And as I said, Deputy Speaker, he was one of those really genuinely lovely people that grace this planet from time to time, and that the rest of us, frankly, have the good fortune to know and to befriend. He was a very good politician and a very good public servant in the truest sense of those words. He was a good man. It was never about his ego, he was always about helping others. But I'm just one of the many, many lives he has enriched. And many members of the local Brunswick Labor branch, which he was a member of, and the wider Wills electorate Labor family, have met and spent a lot of time with Michael over the years, lucky enough to share in his wisdom and his passion for social justice. I reached out to them, Deputy Speaker, and asked to hear their stories about Michael. Here are just a few, and I quote first from his friend Michael Petit in Brunswick. Michael says, "When Caroline and I first came to Australia 40 years ago, we both read a wonderful book and now treasured book, A Fortunate Life by Albert Facey. A life lived honestly, humbly and a sense of purpose and concern beyond self." That was Michael. He was a Western Australian of the highest principles and character, and he was our friend and good mate. I'm not going to comment extensively about Michael's stellar political career. He was a true believer, and that was made clear from the top down. But what I will comment on is his friendship, characteristics that made him a person you just wanted to spend more time with. I never met a man more generous with his time and devoted to making life better for all around him. He was a skilled speaker and advocate for causes, but also a ready listener to other voices. In short, he was somewhat of a national treasure. His death a few weekends ago was tragic for all of us and his friends. And Michael goes on to say, "But you are never really gone when you live in the hearts and memories of so many." And Michael says, "I will revise the Facey book title to say, Vale Michael Beahan AM, A Most Significant Life." And he would insist that we now toast one another with a really good Shiraz. This is from Malcolm Harding. "I can't say that I knew Michael that well, but we did work together for a time when, for his sins, he managed to have himself appointed to the role of chair of the Celtic Club's disciplinary committee." That must have been quite the job, disciplining Celts. "I'm a barrister and I was appointed as advisor to this committee. Michael was given the gig, I suspect, due to his expertise in dealing with fractious behaviour. Michael brought a quiet calm to a querulous situation. He was hell-bent on being fair and being seen to be fair despite provocation." Deputy Speaker, his good friend Anne Taylor said that 3.5 years ago, Michael was a board member of Merry Health, and it was coming to time to renew his position. But instead of running again, He said he wanted to quote, a good woman to stand. He approached Anne, which Anne tells me in and of itself was a huge honour. But he was also not the sort of person to handball anything and just let it go. He worked hard to mentor Anne and supported her through the election. Anne recalls Michael was always there when she needed him. And she remembers he had one of those oodle dogs named Millie, and boy, did she adore him. Did she adore Michael, as we all did. No one was allowed to disturb their time together on the couch. He loved that dog, and I'm sure Millie will miss him too. Mark Higginbotham, former Mayor of Moreland, had this to say: Michael always had a lot to contribute. He made Brunswick his home and loved being a part of the Brunswick community. I will remember Michael as a very inclusive individual. He gave encouragement to women, to multicultural groups, was passionate on Indigenous affairs and LGBTIQ+ issues. Anything, you name it, Michael was a part of it. He was a true believer. He was truly admired and loved by all at the Brunswick branch. Deputy Speaker, it's clear that he will leave a legacy that will endure for those of us who are fortunate to know him, but also much broader than that for the community that he impacted. I extend again my condolences to his partner Margaret, his children Daniel and Kate, his stepchildren Georgia and Michael, and their families. I will very much miss Michael and our times that we spent together talking, and the advice he gave me and his insight and his wisdom. He was a special person. Vale, Michael Beahan.